The drama intensifies on Tuesday, May 5th, as tensions ripple through Los Angeles in ways no one at Forrester Creations could have predicted, setting the stage for emotional confrontations, shocking demands, and a defining moment that leaves Hope standing at a crossroads she can no longer avoid. The episode opens with an uneasy calm lingering after recent conflicts, but that peace proves fragile when cousin Remy unexpectedly corners Dylan with a demand so bold it threatens to unravel carefully guarded loyalties. Remy arrives with confidence bordering on arrogance, clearly believing he holds leverage Dylan cannot ignore, and the conversation quickly shifts from casual family talk to a negotiation loaded with pressure. Dylan, already wrestling with guilt and divided allegiances, realizes that Remy isn't asking for a simple favor. He wants access, influence, and a commitment that could reshape personal and professional relationships alike. Remy insists that family should come first, but his tone reveals calculation rather than affection, leaving Dylan questioning whether blood ties are being weaponized against him. As Remy outlines what he expects, support in a risky business maneuver tied indirectly to the Forrester legacy, Dylan hesitates, recognizing that agreeing could betray people who have trusted him. Meanwhile, whispers of the encounter begin spreading through interconnected social circles, proving once again that secrets rarely stay buried in this glamorous, yet tightly wound world. Across town, Hope finds herself reaching an emotional breaking point after weeks of mounting frustrations, miscommunications, and sacrifices that seem to go unnoticed. She has tried patience, empathy, and compromise, believing that understanding others would eventually restore balance, yet every effort appears to invite new complications rather than resolution. Watching events unfold from the sidelines has become unbearable, especially as she senses manipulation creeping into situations that directly affect her future. When Hope learns about Remy pressuring Dylan, she immediately recognizes the familiar pattern of people exploiting loyalty for personal gain, and something inside her finally snaps. Rather than quietly absorbing another wave of chaos, she decides she has had enough of being reactive. It is time to define boundaries and reclaim control over her life. Her confrontation is not explosive in volume but powerful in clarity, as she calmly but firmly expresses that she refuses to tolerate decisions made without honesty or respect. The shift surprises those around her because Hope's strength emerges not from anger but from certainty, a realization that compassion does not require self-sacrifice without limits. Back at Forrester Creations, the professional stakes mirror the personal turmoil, with executives sensing instability brewing beneath polished presentations and confident smiles. Conversations in the design office take on a sharper edge as speculation grows about alliances forming behind closed doors, and longtime employees begin questioning who can truly be trusted. The pressure affects creative decisions as well, with designers struggling to focus, while interpersonal drama threatens to overshadow upcoming launches. Ridge attempts to maintain stability by emphasizing teamwork and tradition, but even he cannot ignore the undercurrents of ambition and resentment influencing key players. Brooke observes everything with careful attention, understanding that emotional fractures often predict business upheaval, and she worries that Hope's growing frustration may push her toward choices that permanently alter family dynamics. Elsewhere, Steffi senses opportunity within the chaos, interpreting uncertainty as a moment to reinforce leadership and protect the company's legacy, yet her determination risks deepening divisions instead of healing them. As Dylan wrestles with Remy's demand, flashbacks of past mistakes weigh heavily on him, reminding him how quickly one compromised decision can spiral into lasting consequences. He seeks advice but finds conflicting opinions, some urging him to honor family loyalty at any cost, others warning that enabling Remy could ignite a chain reaction no one can control. The internal conflict becomes almost unbearable, especially when Remy escalates his pressure by hinting he might reveal sensitive information if Dylan refuses cooperation. The implied threat transforms the situation from a personal disagreement into emotional blackmail, forcing Dylan to confront the possibility that silence may no longer protect anyone. Meanwhile, Hope's resolve strengthens as she reevaluates what loyalty truly means, realizing that supporting loved ones sometimes requires challenging them rather than shielding them from accountability. Her conversations grow more direct, her posture more confident, signaling a personal evolution shaped by accumulated disappointments. Friends notice the change immediately. Hope is no longer seeking approval but asserting her worth, and that transformation sends ripples through relationships that once relied on her patience. As evening approaches, multiple storylines collide during an unexpected gathering where characters who have been avoiding each other are forced into the same space. The atmosphere crackles with tension as polite greetings barely conceal unresolved grievances. Remy arrives expecting Dylan to announce compliance with his demand, but instead finds hesitation and resistance, prompting a tense exchange that draws the attention of everyone present. Dylan finally voices his doubts, explaining that loyalty cannot exist without integrity, and the statement challenges Remy's carefully constructed narrative of family obligation. Hope watches closely, recognizing the courage it takes for Dylan to stand firm, and she steps forward to reinforce the message that manipulation disguised as loyalty will no longer be accepted. Her words resonate deeply, shifting the emotional balance of the room and exposing Remy's strategy to public scrutiny. For the first time, Remy appears unsettled, realizing his influence may not be as absolute as he believed. The confrontation becomes a turning point, not only for Dylan but for Hope as well, as she claims ownership of her voice and refuses to retreat into silence. Reactions vary. Some admire the honesty while others worry the confrontation could trigger retaliation, but no one doubts that the status quo has been permanently disrupted. The fallout from the explosive confrontation continues to ripple through Los Angeles the following day, as emotions simmer beneath carefully composed exteriors and every character struggles to regain footing after Hope's decisive stand and Dylan's refusal to bow to Remy's pressure. Morning arrives with an uneasy stillness, yet it quickly becomes clear that silence does not mean resolution. Instead, it signals that everyone is recalculating their next move. Dylan wakes weighed down by uncertainty, aware that standing up to Remy may have protected his integrity, but also opened the door to consequences he cannot yet predict. Messages go unanswered, calls remain ignored, and the absence of communication from Remy proves more unsettling than outright confrontation. Dylan begins to realize that manipulation often thrives in patience, and he fears Remy may be planning something far more strategic than emotional outbursts. Across town, Hope reflects on the strength she displayed, feeling both empowered and vulnerable after finally voicing boundaries she suppressed for far too long. Her decision to speak openly has shifted how others view her, and while some admire her courage, others quietly question whether her firmness signals a permanent change in personality or merely a temporary reaction to stress. Hope herself wonders the same thing, recognizing that growth often comes with discomfort, especially when it challenges long-established dynamics within family and business circles. At Forrester Creations, the atmosphere becomes noticeably tense as rumors circulate about the confrontation, transforming private conflict into public speculation. Employees exchange cautious glances, sensing leadership instability despite official reassurances that everything remains under control. Meetings become shorter but more intense, with executives subtly testing loyalties through strategic conversations disguised as casual check-ins. Ridge attempts to restore focus by emphasizing upcoming projects, yet he cannot ignore the emotional undercurrent affecting productivity and collaboration. Brooke, perceptive as ever, recognizes that Hope's newfound confidence may signal a larger shift within the family, one that could either strengthen bonds through honesty or fracture them under the weight of unspoken resentments. She approaches Hope gently, offering support rather than advice, understanding that guidance is most effective when it respects independence. Their conversation reveals Hope's deeper fear, not of conflict itself, but of losing connection with people she still loves despite disagreements. Meanwhile, Steffi observes developments with cautious calculation, recognizing that moments of instability often create opportunities for leadership consolidation. She reassesses alliances, determined to protect the company from external threats while subtly positioning herself as a stabilizing force. Yet even Steffi senses that pushing too hard could reignite old rivalries, forcing her to balance ambition with diplomacy. As the day unfolds, Remy finally reemerges, but not in the explosive manner many expected. Instead, he adopts a composed and almost conciliatory demeanor, surprising those who anticipated retaliation. His calm presence unsettles Dylan more than anger would have, because it suggests long-term planning rather than emotional reaction. When Remy requests a private meeting, Dylan reluctantly agrees, hoping clarity might replace uncertainty. The conversation unfolds with chilling politeness as Remy reframes his earlier demand, presenting it not as coercion but as an opportunity for mutual benefit. He insists that family success requires bold decisions and implies that Dylan's refusal may ultimately harm people he cares about. Dylan listens carefully, recognizing the subtle shift from pressure to persuasion, yet he remains firm, explaining that trust cannot exist alongside hidden agendas. The exchange ends without resolution, leaving both men aware that their conflict has evolved into a strategic standoff rather than a simple disagreement. Elsewhere, Hope continues asserting her independence by reevaluating personal priorities she previously neglected. She revisits creative projects that once brought her joy, rediscovering confidence not tied to external approval. Colleagues notice renewed passion in her work, interpreting it as a sign that emotional clarity can inspire professional excellence. However, increased visibility also draws scrutiny, and whispers emerge questioning whether Hope's assertiveness might disrupt long-standing traditions within the company. Rather than retreating, Hope embraces transparency, openly acknowledging challenges while refusing to apologize for growth. Her honesty begins influencing others, encouraging conversations that had long been avoided out of fear of conflict. Relationships throughout the office subtly transform as people feel emboldened to express opinions more openly, proving that one person's courage can reshape an entire environment. Meanwhile, Brooke grows increasingly concerned about the broader implications of Remy's presence, sensing that his ambitions extend beyond personal grievances. She quietly gathers information, determined to understand his motivations before they escalate into something damaging for the family legacy. Ridge initially dismisses her worries, believing conflicts will resolve naturally, but mounting evidence forces him to reconsider. Strategic discussions begin behind closed doors, signaling that leadership recognizes potential threats even if they remain unspoken publicly. As evening approaches, tensions converge during another unexpected encounter when several key players find themselves gathered for a social event intended to restore normalcy. The setting appears glamorous and relaxed, yet underlying anxiety transforms casual conversations into cautious negotiations. Remy arrives confident, greeting everyone with charm that masks underlying determination. Dylan remains guarded, refusing to engage beyond polite exchanges, while Hope watches closely, determined not to allow manipulation to regain influence. During a pivotal moment, as the week progresses, the emotional reverberations from Hope's stand and Dylan's resistance continue shaping every interaction within the tightly connected world surrounding Forrester Creations, proving that even a single moment of defiance can ignite lasting transformation. The morning begins with an undercurrent of anticipation, as though everyone senses another shift is approaching, yet no one can predict exactly where the next fracture will appear. Hope arrives at work earlier than usual, determined to maintain focus and prevent personal drama from overshadowing her professional responsibilities. Her renewed confidence becomes immediately apparent. She walks through the design floor with purpose, offering encouragement to colleagues while quietly establishing a stronger leadership presence. Employees who once viewed her as overly accommodating now recognize a balanced strength emerging, one rooted in compassion but reinforced by boundaries. The subtle change alters office dynamics, inspiring conversations about accountability and creative ownership that had long remained dormant. Meanwhile, Dylan struggles with lingering anxiety, aware that Remy's silence feels strategic rather than peaceful. He reviews past communications, searching for clues that might reveal Remy's next move, yet uncertainty proves exhausting. Friends advise him to prepare for confrontation, but Dylan hopes resolution might still be possible without escalating conflict further. His internal conflict deepens when unexpected opportunities arise at work, forcing him to question whether success earned during turmoil will feel genuine or overshadowed by unresolved tension. Across town, Brooke continues observing developments carefully, convinced that emotional honesty may finally be replacing long-standing patterns of avoidance within the family. She encourages open dialogue during a private gathering, subtly guiding conversations toward reconciliation without imposing solutions. Ridge initially resists revisiting conflict, preferring stability over emotional excavation, yet he cannot deny that recent events have exposed vulnerabilities that require attention. Their discussions reveal generational differences in how loyalty and independence are defined, highlighting how evolving perspectives challenge traditional expectations within the Forrester legacy. Steffi, ever pragmatic, monitors shifting alliances with strategic awareness. She recognizes that Hope's transformation commands respect from both supporters and skeptics, and she debates whether collaboration might serve the company better than rivalry. Although past disagreements linger, Steffi acknowledges that strong leadership often emerges through mutual respect rather than competition alone. Her willingness to reconsider old assumptions signals potential growth not only for herself, but for the entire family structure. Meanwhile, Remy begins executing a quieter strategy, choosing observation over confrontation as he studies reactions to recent events. Instead of pressing Dylan directly, he builds connections with other influential figures, positioning himself as a forward-thinking ally invested in innovation and expansion. His charm and persuasive vision attract attention, creating uncertainty about whether he represents a genuine asset or a carefully disguised threat. Rumors spread that Remy may introduce a proposal capable of reshaping business priorities, forcing leadership to weigh potential benefits against personal mistrust. Dylan senses these developments unfolding but struggles to determine how to respond without appearing defensive. He confides in Hope, admitting fear that refusing Remy's demand may unintentionally trigger consequences beyond personal relationships. Hope listens thoughtfully, offering reassurance that integrity often requires patience before rewards become visible. Their conversation strengthens mutual trust, illustrating how shared vulnerability can transform uncertainty into resilience. Hope encourages Dylan to focus on actions aligned with his values rather than outcomes he cannot control, a perspective that gradually eases his anxiety. As preparations begin for an important company presentation, tensions escalate behind the scenes. Designers race to finalize concepts while executives debate strategic direction, and the atmosphere grows increasingly charged with ambition and expectation. Hope immerses herself in the creative process, channeling emotional energy into innovative designs that capture themes of renewal and empowerment. Her work receives enthusiastic praise, reinforcing her belief that personal growth and artistic expression are deeply connected. However, success also intensifies scrutiny, with critics questioning whether her influence signals a broader shift in company identity. Brooke defends Hope passionately, emphasizing that evolution is essential for longevity in both business and relationships. Meanwhile, Remy unveils his proposal during a formal meeting, presenting an ambitious plan promising expansion, profitability, and renewed public interest. His presentation is polished and compelling, leaving attendees impressed despite lingering skepticism. Dylan watches carefully, recognizing elements of the proposal connected to the earlier demand he refused, and he realizes Remy has found alternative pathways to achieve similar goals. The revelation forces leadership to confront difficult questions about risk, trust, and vision for the future. Debate becomes intense yet professional, with opinions divided between caution and excitement. Hope speaks thoughtfully during the discussion, acknowledging the proposal's potential while emphasizing the importance of transparency and ethical collaboration. Her balanced perspective earns respect across opposing viewpoints, further solidifying her emerging role as a voice of reason. Remy appears pleased by the attention, yet subtly frustrated that control remains shared rather than absolute. After the meeting, private conversations erupt throughout the building as individuals reassess loyalties and ambitions. Some employees admire Remy's bold thinking, while others remain wary of motives concealed beneath charisma. Dylan confronts Remy quietly, questioning whether the proposal represents genuine compromise or strategic circumvention. Remy responds with calm confidence, suggesting that adaptability defines true leadership and hinting that resistance only delays inevitable progress. The exchange leaves Dylan unsettled but determined not to abandon principles that guided his earlier decision. As evening approaches,